All right, guys, welcome to Evolution of a Breakthrough. This is a re-recording because the webinar system did not get the audio. It got all of the video of the actual presentation, but did not get the audio. So there won't be the interaction, there won't be the Q&A that you usually see in the chat room, etc. So this will just be a straight run. Make sure that you're taking notes and applying the information to your life and helping you achieve breakthrough in some areas that you need to gain that in. Because when it comes to getting stuck and having those barriers and not getting that next level, there's always that ceiling. Now, if you've ever been involved in any sort of stock market trading, you know that there are those ceilings and those floors. And it seems like the number will keep bouncing against that. But once it breaks through the ceiling or once it goes through the floor, then it either continues to rise in a bolt or it continues to drop rapidly. Well, the same thing is true with a breakthrough. We tend to kind of hit that outer edge, and then finally we bust through and it really gives us a burst and we get a gain, and then we start building that same cocoon again, or that same bubble again. So let's step by step through this, but let's begin with 4 things that prevent breakthrough. Number 1 is comfort. We love to be comfortable. I do. I love to be comfortable. I love to enjoy things. I like to be able to predict the outcome. I'm a kind of a bad traveler when it comes to hotels and restaurants because I don't really like the adventure. I like the rating. I like to know that it's going to be solid. I like to know that it's going to be comfortable. I like to know exactly what the rooms are going to be like, what the bathrooms are going to be like, whether they've got robes and thick towels, or is it like they put a piece of tissue paper in there to dry off with, right? So I'm a comfort guy. I've got some friends that tease me about how I love upgrades. If I can get to that next level, I'm more than willing to do that because I know it's going to be more comfortable. I'm willing to spend more money to make sure that I'm comfortable and things are convenient than simply taking whatever comes my way. So I think a lot of us are that way in our life, that we enjoy where things are, and to get outside of that can really be a challenge for a lot of us. So think about where you are and the number of times that comfort has allowed you to stay exactly where you are. In fact, I would probably take out a sheet of paper and write down on the left side some things you should be doing that you're not, and on the right hand side, write down why not. And often it's going to relate to one of these 4 items, but most often it's related to comfort. That we'd love that end result, but we don't want to hit the discomfort that it's going to take to get to that result, and so we tend to stay just where we are. Number 2 is arrogance. By that, I mean that we can feel like we've kind of made it. You know what? I don't need to go any farther. I know everything I need to know. I've done everything I need to do. Now, with comfort, it can sneak in and feel like I'm okay where I am. Arrogance basically says, well, I'm at the pinnacle. You know what? I've done more in my family than anybody else has. I've already accomplished more. I've already made more money. I've already done X, Y, and Z, and nobody else has, so there's no reason to push this next level because I'm already superior to everybody around me. Number 3 is fear. The unknown, the struggle, the risk, the failure. So not knowing what's on the other side of that door can prevent us from going forward. Because right now, if we are kind of arrogant and have it made, there's a risk of losing that, right? If we are comfortable, what happens if I try to break through to this next level and I end up even farther back than I am right now? Well, that fear can paralyze us because we're more scared of what could happen in a negative way than excited about what could happen in a very positive way. And then ignorance, simply not knowing what is possible. So because we're not aware of what could happen, what could be, what potential there is, what goodness lies on the other side, just ignorant about it. It's not that we're afraid of it. We just don't know that it's there because maybe we're not reading enough. We're not studying enough. We're not around the right type of people. We've not been there and experienced it. In my years of doing ministry and traveling really around the world to different mission zones and building orphanages and those kind of things, one thing that I've noticed that anybody that goes on one of these trips are suddenly aware of how great they actually have it, even though they probably complained on the way over. But they suddenly get this awareness about them. I can remember being in Asia and someone asked about my home, and I mentioned what I have as far as a home goes. And in the U.S., I would say, it's probably just a standard middle-class house. It's not extravagant. It's nice. There's plenty of room. We've got 4 bedrooms. We've got 3 full baths. We've got an office, things along those lines. So when I told him the size of my house and the number of bedrooms, this guy said, "How many people live with you?" I said, "Well, there's 4 of us." He said, "4 of you in a house that size?" He said, I live in a 2-bedroom house. There's 14 of us. And my house is about 800 square feet. I didn't even know how they did it, right? I was at that opened my eyes to what all I had, right? I was ignorant to how good I had it. Well, I think that happens to all of us once we begin to get enlightened and see something a little bit different and there's an awakening. Well, sometimes we don't go for bust and we don't break through because we're just ignorant. We don't really know what's possible at all. So let's look at this process. Number 1 is eyes, the comfort level. So we feel good about where we are and we've got really no worries. We're not too concerned about things changing. We're not too concerned about stretching. Secondly, life is good in the comfort zone. I feel very good. I'm very at ease. I'm not having to push it. I'm not having to do anything too crazy, too outlandish. And so I feel very good of where I am. And so this comfort enables me just to enjoy life. I'm not necessarily stretched. I'm not necessarily pushing toward a goal, but I am very comfortable. I enjoy the way things are. Life is good. I really don't have any worries. So it's like I'm in a balloon. There's plenty of room to move around in here. I'm insulated as well. Things can't really get to me. I'm protecting myself from too much intrusion. And at the same time, since I'm not really stretching and pushing, I get to live in my little bubble, my little cocoon. I do things the way that I want, when I want to do them. And you think about how this is advertised online with a lot of courses that are out there that basically says, you can create your own business so you get to do what you want when you want. What's that really speak about? Ease, comfort, calling the shots. And that's what happens when we're in this comfort cocoon. Secondly is, it's about growth. I'm starting to stretch a little bit. I'm starting to realize that maybe I need to move forward. Maybe I can. Maybe I will be able to reach this next level. Maybe I'm supposed to be doing more than I'm doing. I might say something like, well, starting Monday, this is kind of when the growth hits. Starting Monday, I'm going to begin that exercise program. Starting Monday, I'm going to begin emailing this dead list again. Starting Monday, I'm going to reach for that book to read before I start on this new journey in life. Starting Monday, I'll finally do that podcast that I've been meaning to do. I'm going to change this. So, and usually we start to go, when our comfort is challenged in some way. Now, it's usually not us. It's usually something that we've read, something that we've watched, or something that someone has said to us. So somebody might say, why aren't you doing X, Y, and Z? You've got so much potential in that. Or, I hate to see you just limiting yourself to where you are because there's so much more you could do. You start thinking about those words. You start stretching. You start growing a little bit. And you start thinking, this is what I really need to change. So here's another exercise. I would like for you to write down some things you really need to change. Maybe you've thought about it. Maybe it's just been a glance. Maybe it's just been a casual, brief encounter with guilt. And to say that I really need to change this. This really needs to become different in my life. So write those things down. Now, a few years ago, let me give you a personal example. A few years ago, I took a inventory test of personality. Well, I ranked real high on like teaching and sharing and things along and generosity. But here's what's odd is that I ranked very low on compassion and mercy. Now, it wasn't that I was judgmental of other people at all. I've always been very open and accepting. But what I found is that when somebody was hurting, I didn't tend to hurt with them. I was the type guy that said, well, you know what? You just need to strap it on, get after it. You just need to, get on past that. I didn't realize I was not very sensitive, right? So I had to concentrate on moving from being uncompassionate to being compassionate. So I had to change that. I had to study things that would bring that about. I had to put myself in situations that would create that type of growth, right? But this was just a growing process, had not broken through yet. So it was just entertaining the thought of needing to change that. So there's the comfort zone that I began to stretch against. So imagine yourself inside that balloon and you're stretching against the balloon's walls and you feel a little bit of that tension beginning to take place. 3 is yikes. It's when you meet resistance. It's when you're actually put in the situation and that wall of that balloon gets tested. It's beginning to be hard. See, it's one thing for me to say I need to be more compassionate. It's another thing for someone with an issue to come to me with it and me actually have to live with compassion. Totally different. So during growth, I'm entertaining compassion. I may even be studying about what to do. But once I take an action and I meet resistance, because that wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't as much fun. So I'm uncomfortable now because I'm meeting this resistance. Things are not easy like they used to be. It was a lot easier for me when I would tell folks, hey, you know what? You just need to get over that. Or I'd tell people who would talk about working out, you know what? You just need to get in the gym, quit talking about it. Right? And that sounds good, but it's not very compassionate. Resistance also can make you feel like you should give up. Maybe you need to stop. Maybe you need to quit. You should just give up. But instead, you know what? We've got to move forward. We got to continue to go on and push it. So instead of saying I should give up, then we move in and begin to really stretch and move forward. This positive change sure feels negative. And we start getting some of the repercussions from it. We start feeling like there's a lot of tension. We start thinking this wasn't the route that we need to go. So with compassion, I might start saying, you know what? There are plenty of compassionate people. There just aren't enough people telling others how it is. There's not enough realists out there, so if I find it hard, then I start pulling back to my comfort zone and finding an excuse not to keep pushing against that wall. So you get strong resistance. The more I grow and push, the more resistance to change I feel, because our minds want to stay where we are, to stay in comfort, to stay in ease. But instead, this is going to push us forward and allow us to eventually break through. But breakthrough isn't like we just suddenly, boom, we get it. You think about the number of things you've done for years, and then suddenly there was that aha moment. Suddenly there was the moment where it all made sense. See, that's the breakthrough. Up to that point, we start thinking, this is crazy. Why am I doing this? This is not going the way I planned. This is not what I wanted. So the key at this point is that we've got to keep pushing. We've got to keep striving. We've got to keep moving and not allowing ourselves to contract and move back into the comfort zone. And then finally, wow, breakthrough. We finally make it. We bust through the walls. And we can say, I did it. And we celebrate it. And we say, this is awesome. Nothing can stop me. No more resistance. And here's the cool thing about breakthrough is that it allows us to reach a point that we're not going to be able to return to that comfort zone and feel satisfied. Now, we can build a new comfort zone where we are, because we break through and then we adjust and we get used to and we adopt and we rest. But instead, what we need to do is that we need to keep going forward and continuing to ignore the comfort and go for the growth, experience the resistance, and continue to break through. So we bust through and suddenly it's explosive, right? So how do we accomplish this? We've got to recognize where we are in any given moment of time. We also need to understand these 4 stages. So we look at this, and let's use weight loss as an example because it's always one of the easiest. Let's say that I've gotten comfortable being 20 pounds overweight. So I'm just there. I'm comfortable. I've got to recognize that. So I start thinking, well, I need to grow a little bit. I start reading about what it's going to take to lose that 20 pounds. And I realize that I'm going to change this, but that growth makes me kind of go, it makes me think this is going to be a little bit tougher than I want. And we start to just touch the side walls of that balloon a little bit. Resistance comes when I actually take the steps. I, in my mind, think I'm going to get out and run 3 miles. But after a quarter mile, I feel like quitting. That's what resistance is. So I have to make a decision in stage 2 that I'm not going to quit in stage 3. I can't get to stage 3 and then decide I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to quit. Nope. I've got to decide that in stage 2. In stage 3, I recognize resistance. Now, as I teach in 5 stones, there's something called the tombstones. These are the things that are going to kill you. So in your resistance, you need to write down what's going to kill you. Not being able to do as much as I planned, cooking meals that I'm not going to enjoy eating, or meals that I thought were going to be good and they're not good at all. I'm not going to want to get up at 4 every morning when that's what it's going to take me. It's what it's going to require for me to do this if I'm going to keep my job. And so you've got to start writing down the things you're up against. Know that you're going to come up against those and go ahead and battle those so that you've got a corresponding statement for each one of those resistance barriers. Well, you know what? You need to quit because you couldn't go the 3 miles. Yep, but I did go a quarter mile, and that's a quarter mile farther than I went yesterday. So you got to find that correlating statement. And then celebrate the breakthrough. I did this. Now, not just at the end, not just at the loss of 20 pounds, but celebrate it when you finally make that mile mark or that 2 mile mark or that 3 mile mark. That when you break through, celebrate each step along the way. So even while you're resisting, celebrate it. And then when you get there and get to the 20 pounds or whatever, that's when you need to lock it in and say, you know what, here's a big celebration, but I'm not going to kill myself and gain all my weight back. But I'm going to stay where I am, continue to learn, continue to grow. I'm going to continue to raise my body mass, lean muscle, and I'm going to continue to lose body fat, if that happens to be one of the goals. However, if you want to stay right where you are, you can. But you don't have to get comfortable. You can continue to learn about nutrition. You continue to stretch yourself in your knowledge. And you continue to break through as you learn more and more and create a healthy lifestyle and not just a healthy moment of making it, right? All right, so that's it. That's it for the evolution of a breakthrough. We did this in just a handful of minutes that took us about an hour when we did it live. So if you've got any questions about this, email me at paul@paulbevans.com, especially in this episode since it was a lot shorter than we're used to. But I hope you understand those steps and you get those steps and you'll do the exercises and you'll write down what you need to change, what it's going to take to change, the resistance that you're going to face, and then finally you're going to experience breakthrough. Now notice that we don't have timing on that. I don't know if it's going to take 6 weeks, I don't know if it's going to take a week, or I don't know if it's going to take a year. Breakthrough is not easy to time, but we need to be aware of it. Until next time, Paul Evans for Achieve. Success is not an accident. Be blessed.